But I think, the muscle between my ears is what separates the difference, and it allowed me to do this more than anything.
You don't seem to have the darkness that I usually see in people that do things like this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I've met a bunch of people that have done some fucked up things, and they all have some weird darkness.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think for me, there's a lot of this strength comes from a dark moment in my life. Right after college, I was traveling around the world. I had no money as a kid growing up, working class background, painted houses every summer, but always dreamed of traveling the world. So I was like, one day I'm going to travel the world. So I finished college. Buddies of mine are getting like real jobs and whatever, Wall Street and things like that. And I was like, you know what? I saved up $10,000 over the past 6 years. I'm going to take a surfboard and a backpack and like go see the world with my life savings. And so, I went and do that. I'm 21 years old, go to Fiji. I surf through Australia, hitchhike through New Zealand. I end up in Thailand. And you ever been to Thailand?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So you're familiar with how much fire and fire dancing and various crazy debaucherous things that happen over there. So I'm on a beach in rural Thailand, and I decided to jump this flaming jump rope. And unfortunately, it goes terribly wrong for me. The rope wraps around my legs and ignites my entire body on fire to my neck. In an instant, my life changed. Fortunately for me, the water's edge, the ocean, was 10 steps away. So kind of instinct takes over, and I dive into the ocean, which extinguished the flames. My body's on fire to my neck, but not before about 25% of my body is severely, severely burned. So my clothes were on fire, but mostly what got severely burned was my legs and feet. And so I'm in a place, I'm on a beach. There's no hospital on this. I'm on an island. There's no hospital. Instead of an ambulance ride, I'm on the back of a moped driving down a dirt path. I'm in a one-room nursing station, literally like the size of the room we're sitting in. They're like, this is our sort of hospital. It's like one bed. And I'm just completely devastated. And so they put me under 8 surgeries over the next week in the middle of nowhere, rural Thailand.
8 surgeries in a tiny little shack?
Yeah. And basically there's a cat running around my bed every time I come out of their, quote unquote ICU. There's a cat running around my bed and across my chest. And the doctors are literally saying to me, in the broken, English, they're saying, hey, you'll probably never walk again normally. Like you're probably never going to walk again normally. There's a photo of that. I think if you click over on that to the second one, it actually shows, there's what the legs look like. I was, and that's that photo there with those legs. That's actually 8 weeks after I was burned. So that, believe it or not, that's like it's starting to look a little bit better, all things considered there. So, as you can probably imagine, just the darkest time of my life. I've been, an athlete. I swam through college. I thought of myself as a physically active person, and here I am, like doctors saying, "Hey, 22-year-old kid, like you'll never walk again normally." And to me, there's the hero in this story, which is maybe why you don't see the darkness in my eyes and it's more the light. But, my mother is really the heroine of this tale, which is she arrived to my bedside around day 5, flies all the way over to Thailand, finds me. Are you a parent? I don't know. Do you have kids? Yeah. I don't have kids yet, but I can only imagine as a parent what it's like to walk into a hospital room and see your kid halfway around the world in this state, nothing you can do. And she admits now that she was crying in the hallways, pleading with the doctors for good news, like he's going to be all right, right? He's going to walk. She's crying. But every time she walked into my hospital room, she walked in with a smile on her face. And there's this air of positivity of being like, okay, Colin, like this is bad. Like, what do you want to do when you get out of here? Like, let's set a goal. Like, let's get out of here and do something positive. And I'm like, Mom, are you crazy? Like the doctors say I'm never going to walk again normally. Like my life as I know it is over, just in this really dark place in my mind. But she just kept at me day after day with this positivity, this, that. And I finally was like, closed my eyes and I just pictured like, what am I going to be? And I closed my eyes and I had this visualization of myself crossing a triathlon finish line, which is not something I'd ever done before. Like I'd swam in college, but I'd never biked or run competitively, nothing. But I was like, you know what? The able-bodied me sometime in the future is going to be not only walking again, but doing a triathlon race. And so I said it to her. I said, my goal is to race a triathlon one day. And instead of her looking at me going like, well, I said set a goal, but maybe something more realistic that doesn't require you to be running. She was like, great, let's learn about it. Pulls out her computer and just literally starts reading me like triathlon races are this. They're this far. They're this distances. Like I knew nothing about the sport other than just like popped into my mind as something I thought I maybe wanted to do. And so that's what I focused on. I literally have this photo of me with the Thai doctor. My legs are bandaged to my waist and the Thai doctor is like looking at me like crazy, but I'm lifting these like 10-pound barbells in my hand going, I'm training for a triathlon now. The guy's like, you're in Thailand in a hospital, and I'm telling you, you're never going to walk again normally. And so, flash forward, 2 or 3 months, I finally get released from this Thai hospital.
You were there for 3 months?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And when I got released, I still hadn't walked. I'm in a wheelchair. I got carried on and off the flight back to Portland, Oregon, land back home, and still bandaged up. And my mom, says to me, I wake up the first morning, I'm back in my parents' house, my mother's kitchen, the house I grew up in, and she looks at me and she goes, all right, Colin, now I know you've got this big triathlon goal, but today your goal is to take your very first step. And so she actually grabs a chair from our kitchen table and places it one step in front of my wheelchair. And she says, today you need to somehow figure out how to get out of that wheelchair, take one step, and step into the chair in front of you. And I'm looking at it like, I don't know if this is possible, but 3 hours later, 4 hours later, I'm still staring at this chair, and I finally work up the courage and strength to get out of this wheelchair, take the one step, and get into that chair in front of me.
And is the problem that because of the burnt skin, it's not flexible? You can't move it and bend it?
No, it's a good question. So basically what happened with the burn is it burned me so deep that 2 things happened. One is there was ligament damage. So ligament damage to my ankles and knee joints. And then the way that the scarring in the skin is healing essentially over these mobile joints, they don't think I'm going to regain full flexibility, full range of motion essentially in my leg. So they're not saying you'll never walk, as in you won't be able to stand up at all, although that was like extremely painful, but they just didn't think, be imagine walking around without being able to bend your knees or your ankles with like full mobility. So it just was like, you're not going to be able to have that back basically. So sure enough, I take that first step, get in that chair. The next day, my mom doesn't take it easy on me. She just moved the chair 5 steps away. The next day, 10 steps away, every day, a few more steps, not to go on and on, but basically 18 months after, getting released from that hospital, I find myself in Chicago. I finally, took a job in finance, just trying to get out of my parents' basement, like get on with my life. I'm 23 years old. Like, I got to get like a real job, get out of my parents' basement, move to Chicago, take a job in finance, and try to get my shit together basically. And I honored that goal. I said, you know what? I'm going to sign up for the Chicago Triathlon. I live here now, join a local gym, knew nothing about the sport still. I'm like asking random guys at the gym, like, anybody here race a triathlon? Like I'm in a spin class. Like, how do you take your shoes off and run afterwards? How do you, how does it even work? Like ask these questions. And sure enough, through that process, I trained at this gym, signed up for the Chicago Triathlon, ended up racing the race, crossed the finish line. And to my complete and utter surprise, I didn't just finish the race, but I actually won the entire Chicago Triathlon, beating 4,000 other people, coming first place.
What?